It's absolutely been one of my favorite things to learn about and to study. I think the name, image, likeness changed the entire landscape of the NCAA. Of course, for the athlete, there's a lot more that you have to think about, and there's a lot more opportunity. And I still think, and I've been saying, I still think it's incredibly early, but I could put myself back in my shoes as an athlete. I think if the universities are really investing in teaching these student athletes about these opportunities, giving them the skills to go out and understand that to an extent, you now are running your own personal brand. The major athletes, they have support. They have those people around them who are helping them negotiate deals and are dealing with a lot of money. But it's let's call it the mid-level athlete or the mid-major school in a demographic where the school is extremely popular within the community. Small businesses are taking opportunities to invest in these, and it's giving them different exposure than they've ever had before. For student athletes, I think what I really try to challenge the universities on is really investing in the opportunity for these athletes to learn the power of marketing, networking, business ownership, personally, good decisions. And you do see it. I've had the universities that I've worked with and spoke with on different levels. There are departments or at least roles now within the athletic department where somebody is responsible for that. Depending on the size is the way that I see it. Depending on the size, it definitely varies. But some of the bigger schools are fully aware and fully committed to those student athletes having as many resources as possible. And that's, of course, one of my businesses, and what we do is we go and we travel to student athletes and we try to speak to entire athletic departments. And the group that I belong to is nothing but former student athletes who are now leading their industry as professionals and have a ton of knowledge and willingness to help current student athletes. Right? When I talk to our group, we talk about our personal goals and our business goals, but we always have that relation of talking about sports or talking about our time as student athletes, and that's such a small bond. So I think while universities for sure find what we do useful and helpful, and in my opinion, some form of it is almost necessary, is because we can completely relate to where those student athletes are feeling and what in the seats that they're sitting in. We have all sat there. And now with the group of, it's only about 35 of us, we all are doing things that each one of us find interesting. A lot of it's entrepreneurship, business ownership, executive level leadership. That's kind of the DNA of our group. And to be able to bring that to universities has been an honor, honestly. It's been something that when we do it, I often find myself, it's an interactive Q&A. We have a panel, I don't know, of like anywhere from 4 to 6. And, as someone else is speaking, I often find myself gazing out into the room and I could put myself right back there. I could put myself right back in that auditorium. And I can remember how innocent I was still at that young age. And I know for certain I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I did not know I'd be an entrepreneur. No one in my family was. My parents are blue collar. They worked 9 to 5 really hard. So for me, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I would never admit that. We never talked about it as a team. I mean, a few guys, you knew what they wanted to do. If you had your pharmacy majors or those majors that were just like, step to step. But I was a sports science major. There were so many different ways I could go with that. Some of my friends, they were education majors, so they knew they were going to become teachers, right? But I have teammates who were business majors, political science majors. Those are broad. I think those student athletes need also some guidance, because I think a lot of us entered the world at that time and like, okay, I have this degree, but what can I do with it? So those are kind of the students that I relate to when I speak. And then now for me, a lot of the skills that I had back then, I was able to transfer to being an entrepreneur. And I think being an athlete, especially a college athlete, was a huge, huge advantage. Um, there were a ton of transferable skills that I had to uncover and correlate how one worked with business. So that took me time. But again, that's what we do. That's why being in front of student athletes and having them get a chance to hear that story and then bounce their questions off of us has been so impactful. So I think all of that for sure. Well, a lot of it is because of the new landscape of the way the NCAA from the transfer portal to the NIL, which I'm enjoying watching. I'm enjoying seeing, and I enjoy also when we talk to these student athletes, learning from them. But I do recommend that for any student athlete who is either transferring universities or high school looking to go to a university, I highly recommend diving into that athletic department and seeing what they're what they're building it to look like, and making sure that you feel comfortable that you'll have all the help that you need as an athlete. I think that's incredibly valuable as well.